Hi, my name is Marco Madella and I'm the coordinator of the SimulPast Consolidare Ingenio project that started last year and is carried out at the Institución Milà i Fontanals de Barcelona, part of the Consejo Superior de Investigación Científica de España. And apart from this, I'm also the PI of group number 1 that works with a case study in India, specifically in Gujarat. I think that the SimulPast it's a big project related to fantastic ideas and huge challenges, in the sense that it's one of the few projects that effectively put together scientists coming from the humanities and from physics, mathematics, social sciences, and so on, trying to really get a framework that is transdisciplinary. And so the biggest challenge will be to have all these people talking together to understand what is the human behavior and social construct of our species. In general, there's been a long tradition of having science made dependent on the subject. And this has created very specialized type of research. However, in the last year, it became very clear that it is not possible anymore to look only within our own discipline, but we really need to get out of these boxes that have been created. And in doing so, there is a synergy that becomes incredibly high, and what we can do is much more than when we just look inward to our own subject. And in that sense, I think that that's one of the major positive points of a project such as the SimulPast. As the title is saying, we are going to try to model and simulate human behavior and social construct. This is definitely not easy. We are a complex species. Culture is extremely complex, and it's not always easy to understand what is important within this structure to be used in modeling and in simulation, and what we can, happily put aside. And so I think that in the biggest challenge of the project is really to be able to produce a package that will be useful for the social sciences in simulating the behavior of our species, and especially simulating what is our social construct. Also, I think that the other fundamental challenge of a project like SimulPast is the fact that it's one of the few times in which humanities are set in a situation in which we can set an experiment, do the experiment, and then we can go and see the result of this experiment, and in case, repeat it. This is something that very rarely happens in archaeology, for instance, or it rarely happens in anthropology, and a bit more, but not that common in social sciences at large. And so I think that one of the major points that are of interest of this project are exactly these, the fact that we are going to do experimentation like in a virtual laboratory. But I think, and this came out also from the assessment of the project, I think that the major point was that we propose blue sky research. We propose a research that is dangerous in a sense, but when successful, the return is extremely high and important. And I think that that was the point that made the difference from other projects that were, with all possibility, equally good. But I think that the SimulPast has been able to put itself in a view in which really high risk but high probability of great result. And I think that that was the major difference when it went through the selection process. I think that fundamentally, the way I see that the most important possible result of our project would be exactly to be able to supply the social sciences with a methodology for modeling and simulating, and also a big push toward meeting somehow two different areas of research. On one side, the humanities, and on the other side, what are called very often social science, hard sciences. And in this sense, getting together and getting people from these two areas talking and finding a common language, I think this will be one of the most important results for the project. We had 1 year, more or less, the project, a bit less than 1 year. And I feel very enthusiastic because first of all, I saw all the people participating in this project very happy to find a common ground and moving from their position to find a common position that has a common language. And on the other hand, we have also already started finding ways in which we are using a common logic and a common settings through which every single thing that he says is fully understandable to each one of the participants, being this person from the humanities, social sciences, or being from physics, mathematics, computer sciences. And this has it's already happening after less than a year. So I feel very confident, I feel very happy about this aspect, and that we will be able to deliver in this aspect. I think more than this, what is important is, I believe, to understand how society act. And one of the major things that happen at the moment is that all studies related to society are related to very short period of time. Is either actualistic, something that is happening now, or is something with a short period of time in which information has been gathered and studied. There is a lot of work that has been done in economics, for instance, from this point of view. I think that the extra value of a project like our project is the fact that we have a long time perspective. There is a long trajectory that we are going to look at. Maybe we are not going to be very refined in our understanding, but definitely we are going to look at long time trajectory that can help in understanding what has been historical changes, but also can help in understanding why we are in the way we are. Looking at the future, some of the results might even be possibly used for modeling and simulating for the future. I think that looking at the future and what will be the sign left by this project in the future, I think that the most important thing from my point of view will be opening up new vision on how to do research, and also moving away from a system in which we have basically only two possibilities. We belong to humanities or we belong to sciences. And I think this is not anymore the case. I think that science at large is doing a very different job and is very much horizontal. And I think that, at least as a wishful thinking, I would like to see that one of the signs left by this project is the fact of thinking that it's possible to do something that is neither one or the other and is useful to both. And then, in that sense, opens new vision of research in Spain. We are almost at the end of the first year, still missing a couple of months, so we are, in a sense, a very young project. As a result of these first 10 months of research, what we've done? Well, we have set the basis for the construction of the model, and most of the groups that are part of the project have been able to construct, using a structured language, the basis of the model, which will be passed to the people that will do the computational side in the new year. We are very close to have a few models working at a very basic level for at least a couple of case studies. And we have been able to, as I was saying before, establish the level of communication and the level of understanding that is needed to run through a project with this perspective. Clearly, the first year of any project is basically digging through the data, setting the basis, and as a result, you don't have much to show. But definitely with the new year, we will have things to show, simulation to show, the first result to show. And as a vision to the future, the project is doing, I believe, very well. We are very much into the timetable that we have proposed. We haven't missed any single deadline that we set up in our calendar. And therefore, I can see that the next year will be dedicated in finalizing all the models and starting effectively, at least for some of the case studies, the simulations with a view of then going to interpret the result coming out from this simulation. Welcome to the SimulPast project.